Grab a stool. App TV's Sports Bar is now open. Hello, I'm David Jackson. Welcome to Sports Bar. Our regular patrons are all back together and ready to talk sports, so let's get right to it. Where have you been?
I just had a really busy, life, classes. I know.
Yeah.
I miss you guys.
Did the best we could. Glad to have you back.
All right, so with your absence noted, and glad to have you returned, this first topic is for you here to get on your soapbox because we know you've got an opinion here. Kiran Gandhi made headlines a few weeks ago running the London Marathon while menstruating, and came out afterward saying that this was an opportunity to raise awareness for women's issues that all of us collectively might not necessarily think about on a daily basis. Your thoughts on that statement?
All right. Well, first of all, if you guys are thinking about periods on a daily basis, then I'm a little concerned for you, because even I don't, and I have one. I understand her reasoning behind it. I understand that she was doing it for, the idea that there shouldn't be period shaming, or, she's come out and said afterward it was for women who don't have access to feminine products and stuff like that. The whole period shaming thing, I personally think was her just saying something. And maybe I'm totally alone in this. I've never felt like anyone said, well, you're on your period, so we can't trust you as I've never been shamed for having it. That's just being a woman. I think that's a silly reason behind it. For doing it for women who don't have access to feminine products is another thing, but I feel like those women aren't saying, hey, I don't have access to these products, so why don't you not use your access to them? Because, the issue behind it isn't the fact that we're afraid of periods or people are like, oh no, you're menstruating, you're PMSing, whatever. It's the fact that blood is not good to spread around. It's dangerous. It carries diseases. It's disgusting. You don't want to sit on something that's bloody. That's gross. Sure. So I feel like doing it was more of a publicity stunt than anything. And my biggest thing with her is the fact that she is the drummer for MIA, which sings a song called Paper Planes. A lot of people have heard of it. So she already had she was already well enough known that she has access to, if she wanted to do a fundraiser or, some sort of walk for awareness type thing. She already had access to these things. And instead she chose to go about it and do it something very strange and kind of, I don't know, I just think it was a little bit desperate. I don't think it said a lot for the cause that she was saying she was going for.
Yeah, it seems like she kind of championed it, as part of circumstance. This happened to happen, so I'm just going to do it. I don't understand the decision by it, and I don't really know too much about the concept of period shaming. I've never seen that firsthand. And if that does take place, by all means, I guess it's a very serious issue, and I would never want someone to feel put down because of that. But I thought it seemed like she kind of championed that at the last minute and then had all these reasons why it was this noble thing all of a sudden.
Exactly. Go ahead. I want to hear this. I want to hear this.
I don't have too much of an opinion about this, but I would say that if the direction had been more about, maybe women as a whole, statistics, I'm pretty sure, still claim that, women are paid less, kind of along those kind of, down that road with that topic. I could have maybe seen why she did that. In this instance, like you said, Chris, I've never necessarily experienced someone, it's like, it's that time of the month or whatever.
All right, so how does an issue like this then kind of set up what could be other issues that would maybe need more attention? For instance, very notably over the summer, you have your first women's coach of a professional basketball team on the men's side of the pendulum. You have now a female official in the NFL. You have a female assistant coach in the NFL. They were famously just involved in the same game. So will, in this same vein, saying woman in prominence, sports position has an opportunity for issue-driving opportunity here, okay? So how about issues such as pregnancy or such as unfair wages and things like that? Can we now expect, or should we expect, now that we are seeing females rise to prominence in some of these areas that, let's be honest, have been void to them for far too long, will they take the opportunity to use those positions that I just mentioned to champion other efforts that would help drive conversation in some of those areas that are real concerns every day and not something that seems, again, a bit made up just based on circumstance?
I definitely think so. And I think that it's really easy. I mean, you think of all of these athletes who have stood up for some sort of cause that happened in their life. You know, someone stood up for breast cancer because their mom had it, or leukemia because their daughter had it, or, you know, all of these things that different, you know, visible people have championed. And I think that there is definitely an opportunity for women who are now, especially in the sports, you know, world, to step up and say, you know, I can be a woman, I can be pregnant, I can say, you know, I deserve equal wages, let's talk about this. I think there's definitely a chance now for them to say, you know, I've done something that's traditionally male, but that doesn't mean that I'm not still a woman and there's still these issues that we need to talk about. So I think there's definitely a chance for them to say something, but I also don't know if they want to. Being a girl who loves sports and, you know, who a lot of times will do, you know, I do stuff like this, which, you know, I'll run with y'all as much as I can. So, but I'm not sitting up here going, well, let's talk about periods and let's talk about hair products. And because I don't want to be like the girl on the panel talking about the girly stuff. Like, so I don't know if they're going to use it for that, just because I think they want to be seen as, I am your equal. I am here to do this job that a man has done before me and do it just as well, if not better. So I don't know if they're going to take that stance only because they want to be seen as an equal, not as someone, not as, oh, you're just the girl doing the job.
I think there's a difference though between equal and different. A man cannot be pregnant, but a man is able to identify with a woman who wants to be able to do her job and do her job effectively. And if she happens to be pregnant, aside from law, it is just right to say, hey, you can do the job here. Yeah. So can that be the opportunity? Rather than, again, manufacturing, and I'm not saying that period shaming is an issue. I will say that I am in a house of 3 women, 2 daughters and a wife. I've never heard that topic before. Yep. Thankfully, I'm glad I heard it here first. But you know, you've got an opportunity to do some good there. And let's be also honest that there are people of positions of prominence, males, females, transgenders, whatever, that use that position to push some really bizarre topics. Yeah. You know, so it's not always just lined up perfectly in the crosshairs that you are in this elevated position and you can speak and we will hear you and it's great. Sometimes it takes you one direction or another. That's just fame there. But if there is a way to circle this back around to say, now that, especially from a woman's perspective, that there are people that are rising to places that they have never been in sports before, find a way to use that to help others that are affected by some of these situations in a negative way.
I would say the platform itself is enough to be an example for the changing landscape. Yes. I mean, giving them the platform, but what separates that from this situation is I don't think every female coach that is getting put into these positions, that these new opportunities that weren't available before, is trying to set some sort of, I'm the example, look at me. Exactly, and that's right. Exactly what she did. And I think that's what separates this. As a group, if you want to look to female coaches that are rising in the male ranks and being successful and say, wow, that's a great example of how the times are changing and how culture is changing, and look at what she's done in a non-traditional, a non-traditional way, that's great. But don't be the one who champions the cause yourself and say, look at me, I'm the person. Exactly. I just don't think that you get the same sort of reception from your audience or respect.
Always seems like that works better when you are championing it on behalf of someone else.
Exactly.
Yeah. I agree with that. And that's why I think, like, and once again, coming from a place of a woman who is trying to break into a field that is very traditionally male, I don't want to be, oh, you're doing such a good job for a woman. You're doing this and you're doing great because you're a girl. Like, and I may just be on a soapbox speaking for people who don't need to be spoken for, but I don't think that these women who are now in the NFL and, you know, in soccer and all this stuff want to be good and be a woman. They want to be good because they are good at their jobs. And I don't think that they want to be seen for, you know, oh, wow, you're that girl coach. You did such a good job. They want to be, wow, you did amazing coaching this team. So I think they're not going to champion it.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah, I was going to mention that, is that, you know, you're not going to have gender equality until, like you say, you know, Coach, you know, Andrews, if her last name's Andrews, or, you know, if the guy's last name's Andrews, as opposed, if you're just saying, hey, you know, Coach Andrews, and no one thinks, oh,
yeah, it's when you
the female coach.
When news agencies stop saying the female coach, Joe, whatever. No, they have to say Coach blank.
Yeah.
That's where equality is really going to be, and that's where I think people are going to be more comfortable stepping up to talk about these topics that are traditionally female. Is when they're no longer fighting for, okay, you're good for a girl.
Well, and there's also the opportunity, too, that you've got, again, females that have risen to prominence in positions they haven't been in before, champion something that it doesn't matter. You know, everybody can rally behind cancer. Everybody can rally behind leukemia or whatever that cause is. But what you do have is the spotlight. Monet Davis had the spotlight whether she wanted it or not. But now think about all of the role models that have been created on both, you know, from young boys and young girls to see somebody who excelled and was able to handle it with the grace that she did. That's an example for every kid out there. That doesn't have anything necessarily to do with gender. She just went out and played the game, but took advantage of the spotlight in a positive way.
Yeah.
This didn't seem as positive as it could have been. Maybe there is some change that got impacted from this in a good reason, but or a good way. But this was certainly a bizarre way to go about it.
Definitely.
So let's transition from that.
Yeah, let's go to something else.
We'll get into some soccer here, as Appalachian State soccer teams have started their respective seasons. The men wrapped up their exhibition season over the weekend. The women have started their regular season already, both of them victorious. The men awfully exciting on Sunday with a 5-1 victory over High Point. Stephen Chapman, one of the premier scoring threats in all of the Sun Belt, 4 goals in that game. What, if 3 goals is a hat trick, what's 4 goals?
I don't know. It's impressive nonetheless. I mean,
it's just impressive.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a soccer term for that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Sure.
I mean,
Right.
it's on the way to the double hat trick, the well-respected double hat trick. That's often
very well
elusive.
respected,
Yeah, but overall, I mean, they've looked great in preseason play. They had a 5-1 win over High Point, like you said, and then they also opened with a 3-1 win over Wofford. So the men's team looks ready to go, I mean, entering the regular season. And on the note of the women's team, the most impressive thing about their win was not that they opened up with a 3-2 win. It was that they were down 2-0 with, I don't know, 70 in the 72nd minute or so, and rallied with 3 goals to win the game. And one of those coming in the 88th minute. It was a penalty kick to win the game. And that, I mean, that you can't underestimate how much momentum that builds for a team to come back in that fashion. There's a fear that, you know, maybe because of the momentum you might fall flat in the next game, but that doesn't seem like this team this year. They're very focused. One of my reporters spoke to the coach after the game, and she said this team is no surprise. I mean, this is what they expect, and this team is very tight knit and rallies together, and this is what we can expect going forward.
They've got a week off before their next game. They'll play Friday night. But you know, the thing that was impressive about that, like you mentioned, is a team that notoriously had not been a super scoring team. Found a way to put 3 goals together in back-to-back-to-back fashion like that. So certainly some excitement on the soccer front, but also volleyball getting ready to start. Field hockey just wrapped up their exhibition season as well. So while a lot of people are focused on football, all of the fall sports now are in full swing. Cross country gets going here pretty soon too, and I think people will see a very competitive group overall. Soccer, volleyball was picked 4th in the preseason in the Sun Belt, so you got a chance to see some very solid teams in terms of their Sun Belt competition.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that will give students, too, a chance to go out and see some sports we don't usually watch. Because I know that I went to a lot of the women's volleyball games last year, and it's hard to watch them be as good as they are and see such an empty stadium or an empty convocation center, especially when you go to a men's basketball game and they didn't always have the best games going, but people still showed up. So I'm hoping that, you know, the excitement over this is going to give people a chance to go out and see a game.
Well, I mean, last year the volleyball team started 13-0, I believe it was,
Right,
and there was some steam. Like you said, they got some votes in the top 25, and that excitement was there. And then they drop one game, they're no longer undefeated, and then I was at that next game, the 14th game that was at home, and half of the people that was there. So to me, volleyball is very exciting, and
it is.
And maybe if the program is headed toward that direction of possibly top 25 type volleyball, you will see
We see
the
to start
more regular
tailgating volleyball
attendance
games.
and.
If they started tailgating volleyball games, more people would go.
Maybe that's the trick.
There's my suggestion. You can take that one.
Yeah, those Tuesday night tailgates for volleyball.
Yeah.
Be
Hey,
real
we're doing
popular.
Thursday night now. We're doing Thursday night now.
You get that as a student endeavor and push that through, and we'll support you in any way that we possibly can. Switching gears from Appalachian State sports, a lot of NFL preseason going on. Carolina Panthers, a nail-biting, barn-burning, just thrill-a-minute 31-30 victory over the Miami Dolphins. It wasn't maybe that dramatic, but there were certainly some interesting things that occurred late in that game. I think everybody, though, more concerned about what happened at the start, and that was a lackluster offense, a defense that gave up some big plays, and that hasn't necessarily been their thing. The Panthers head into Week 3 with the Patriots. That's an awfully tall order in a week that looks more like the regular season than any other preseason week.
Well, me personally watching the whole game, it was hard to pay attention because inside I was just crying, because still not having recovered from the Kelvin Benjamin news. And also, that being said, the drops by players like Philly Brown put salt in that wound. I was thinking, man,
Isn't that
if
like
Kelvin
watching
was
right
there, we'd probably catch that ball. And Funchess was still out. I think he had a tweaked hamstring.
Right.
As far as Cam's performance, people were hard on him in that game, but I just mentioned the drops. I feel like a lot of criticism maybe thrown his way was somewhat unfair. The pick he threw was, that was a bad ball.
It was a pick.
But hey, outside of that, I thought he had a decent game. You saw Luke Kuechly miss, a very uncharacteristic tackle. I think it was the second snap of the game. It's one missed tackle, but that just kind of set the tone, I feel like, for the rest of that game.
Well, for him, I think people saw it as kind of a shock. Like, people were kind of like, oh, this is where we are now. Like,
him being
this is where we're starting.
Him being one of the premier linebackers in the league, you see him, miss a tackle like that. And after losing a guy like Kelvin Benjamin, you want to jump on the back. You want to jump on the back of Cam, and you want to jump on the back of guys like Luke Kuechly, to help lead the charge. But I do think our third stringers, top in the league. I really do. I feel like Joe Webb could take us to the promised land.
A lot like Dan Marino against the Dolphins.
I'm not going to say he didn't. So if only third stringers was playing, I feel like we'd have a good chance at a Super Bowl run. But
sadly,
that's a statement to make.
Yeah,
I think so.
That's not going to be
The second most bizarre thing we've
well, that's not going to be
this
the
is a
case.
show.
But if you're going to struggle, better now than week 1 or week 2. And that's
true.
what it comes down to. If you're going to take some chances and throw some balls that, are honestly some terrible throws as far as decision making, do it now, get it out of your system. Luke Kuechly, if you're missing tackles, better now. It's kind of weird the way that the training camp and things like that work now, because so little is done in full pads where you're really hitting guys. It's a lot of walkthroughs. It's a lot of 7-on-7s where you're just wearing uppers as far as pads go. You can't simulate the game that way. Even if you're doing co-practices like a lot of teams are doing now, where like New England is practicing with Philadelphia, that type of thing. It's still not the same as far as that goes. So there's going to be rustiness as far as tackling and things like that, but there's still 2 more weeks. Get it out of the way.
But the league collectively bargained that, and if they
Yep.
want Chris play in the preseason, then don't collectively bargain your way out of hitting in camp. It's all a player safety issue, and there is no greater champion player safety than any of us here.
Yep.
However, that does mean that some of those things do.
But now
fall by the wayside.
I want to know, though, are you a fan of these, preseason games and everything? Like, are you?
No, absolutely
okay, 'cause
not.
it kinda sounded like you
not
were
at
saying-
all.
I was
No,
interested. Okay.
But I don't think you need 4 games to get it all out of your system, especially when your starters are only playing for a series. I mean, I know as you get closer to the 3rd game, teams are playing for full quarters as far as starter goes.
Yeah.
But you still need the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, we were just talking about it before the show about, I saw Aaron Rodgers had come out after the Jordy Nelson injury and said, because people were asking, do you think that the preseason is worth it? Like, do you think that, why are we playing these games? And I mean, he was very poignant and said, I think that this is just a chance to sell tickets. It's not about
true.
the players. It's not about
tickets.
the teams. And so I was interested to hear if you were on that train too. But I think we all kind of agreed that, 1 or 2 games would be
interesting to hear
enough.
what Aaron Rodgers' perspective would be if he was the third string quarterback rather than the megastar trying to grab a job and knowing that he's got 4 chances to
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when the rosters start at 85 guys and you have to cut to 53 in a month,
baseball has a month of spring training.
Yep.
The NBA preseason is lengthy. NHL, I think, started their preseason during the postseason last year. So that's
like
part
it.
of it. There is an opportunity to sell tickets. I remember back in my day, they used to actually rotate these games around. I remember going to a Redskins-Falcons game at Kenan Stadium in Chapel Hill. Now, you would never move an NFL preseason game outside of the venue because you don't get the revenue. You don't get the ticket sales, and those tickets are just as expensive as they are in the regular
Yes,
season.
they are.
Interesting there. If salt's in your wound about receivers, how are you going to feel on Friday night when you see Reggie Wayne trot out on the field for the New England Patriots
No, let's
instead
not
of the
talk
Carolina
about that.
Panthers, a team that needs a receiver?
Yeah, well, that question is kind of compounded by the fact that the Patriots are not my most favorite franchise, and I feel like I feel like Reggie Wayne. He's a nice guy.
He belongs on the
Until
Colts.
now.
He belongs on the Colts.
Exactly, until now. But no, really, yeah, it would have been great if the Panthers could have picked him up.
It would have been great if anyone had picked him up except for the Patriots.
Yeah, but
and I root
for the
against
Patriots,
bad
I'm
teams,
sure
but-
he'll be a very good contributor for him. He's certainly a pro. He's been doing this a long time, and Tom Brady, that offense in general, he seems to take guys who maybe are on the decline or maybe who are young but haven't really shown anything, and oh wow, look at that guy. He's I look at a guy like Brandon LaFell for the Panthers.
Exactly.
He never really turned into much of a receiver with Cam and Jimmy Clausen before him chucking the ball.
How much would the Panthers love to have Brandon LaFell right now?
Exactly.
Yes,
They
exactly.
need that second guy. I mean, I think Funchess can be a primary guy, but you need the second guy. And
Yeah.
I don't know that second guy can be Ted Ginn all year long.
Yeah.
And my thing is, why not bring in a veteran receiver to help bring Funchess along if you don't have that on? I mean, they have Jericho Cotchery.
Right. They've
And
got
don't
the
get me
old man
wrong.
receiver
They do.
role filled.
They do. But Reggie Wayne is no longer a top flight receiver, but his career, he is an above average wide receiver. And that's who you want bringing along Funchess, not Jericho Cotchery. I mean, he's had okay seasons, but he's never been a burner by any means.
Yeah, I mean, if I was Reggie Wayne, I would not want to be lumped into the same category as Cotchery at this point in their career. I feel like Reggie Wayne can actually make an impact.
Yeah.
Cotchery, maybe, he is. My dad made that joke the other day. I thought it was.
App State note, though, for Friday night, both Travaris Cadet play for the Patriots. Should get back into preseason action after getting hurt in camp. And it sounds like DeAndre Presley is very close to coming off the PUP list for the Panthers and could get some time in Week 3 as well. Quickly to golf before we wrap things up. Tiger Woods, just down the road in Greensboro, makes a big push at the Wyndham. Was in contention up until about hole 11 in the final round. The thing that's staggering out of this, whether you're a Tiger lover, Tiger hater, is that this was one of the most watched golf tournaments in years because the guy that moved the needle showed that he still is the needle. Higher ratings for round 3 of the Wyndham than round 3 of the PGA Championship. Explain that to all of those that think the young guys in golf are the ones that we should be focused on.
I will say this, and this is a little bit of insider that I heard. We had a reporter that happened to go to the Wyndham tournament, and while he was there, he was in the clubhouse on Saturday after Tiger had a good day on Friday. And the lady in the clubhouse said that morning before everybody went out there that they sold 45,000 tickets overnight.
45,000 more tickets.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
Wow.
More tickets to come out to follow Tiger. And they said that it seemed like roughly 80 to 90,000 people were kind of following Tiger as he was out there. He's still the most polarizing figure in golf, unfortunately, regardless of wins because of the record that he has. And he will be until he calls the quits, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And honestly, to finish 10th, I mean, that's been great for Tiger comparatively. So I don't expect to see any sort of change, but it's unfortunate for these up-and-coming guys who, like Jordan Spieth, who been productive over and over and over in tournaments and aren't getting the respect that he deserves because he's still being overshadowed by.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's respect that they're just not watching him. I mean, this was the highest rated non-major in 2 years.
Well, and I think that's how it goes down to the, you love him or you hate him. Very few people are kind of like, oh, Tiger Woods, like he's a golf player, that's great. And I mean, I'm definitely on the dislike side of that spectrum. And I have to say though, I still watch, and I can't remember the last time I watched the Wyndham, but if ever,
Yesterday.
I don't. Well, okay.
Aside from that,
Okay. But I mean, I watched because I was hoping he would fail. I was watching because I was hoping he'd
That's
miss
why the
that
numbers go
putt.
up.
So
Exactly right.
I mean, I feel bad contributing to that because, but still, it pops up on my newsfeed and I see, oh, Tiger Woods did something. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, I love Tiger Woods personally.
Sorry.
I mean, I look at his golf career only.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
okay.
what happened. That's in the past. I understand.
That's
But
it in the past.
yeah,
You're a forgiving guy.
Yeah.
I'm of the opinion that I really think he can squeeze out 2 more majors.
Really?
I really think.
absolutely.
I
How
think
many
he-
golfers
get a
play
minor.
until they're 60 or 70? I'm sorry,
Yeah,
but
he's gotta
got
get a
time.
minor.
He's
Yeah.
got time. He's not that old.
He's got injuries.
You get over injuries.
Everyone.
You
Sorry,
get
golf
back
is not a
injuries?
sport.
I have injuries. We get over them.
Okay.
While you guys bicker about that, it's last call here at the Sports Bar. But before we close, we'd like to invite you to contact us with your comments. You can do so by logging on to watchapptv.com. Until next time, I'm David Jackson, and this is the Sports Bar. Good night, everybody.